Cooney, your art Sherpa. John is with me on the mic. Sherpa tracking with our cameras so that you guys can see what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, when I'm doing it. Today, we're doing this fabulous Splatter Tree. This is such a fun and expressive and easy project, and it's something that anyone can do at a lot of ages and have it be amazing and fun. So it's like one of those projects that gives to a wide variety. Here's another example of Splatter Tree. I'm doing it today, though, with sort of a twist. I'm doing it with Crayola Watercolors, right? And yeah, we're an acrylic channel, and that's what I'm about, but there's been this question coming in a lot about, are Crayola art materials good art materials? And I thought, well, you know, it's like everything in art. Yes, they are, but they have positives and minuses, and we're going to talk about those today, and we're going to talk about how if you have Crayola watercolors at home, right, how you could do this project. I'm also going to talk to you about how you can also just do it in acrylic like we've been doing the other splatter projects. So don't worry if you just got acrylic paint and you're like, I'm not going to go run out and buy Crayola. That's okay. This is going to work with your acrylic paint. Yep. Just like the Heart did, just like Alice did. All this stuff works. These are just about different things you can have in your life. Today, I am doing this on this 16 by 20 Arches watercolor board. I get these at Michael's in the drafting paper section. There's this sort of rack with all these papers, and I've got to go down and read the tags, and then I also have to check the boards because a lot of times I think they get stocked wrong or people move them around. So I'm looking for something with a nice rough watercolor texture that reads Arches on the back, and it will also say for watercolor on the back. So that's how you can check your purchase, even if it hasn't been stocked as accurately as it could be. Now, what if you're just painting regular watercolor paper? We all know it curls up. Everybody's got some tips for that. My lifelong response to curling paper is tape. Now I use artist tape. This is like $1 at Michael's. You could use masking tape, but basically you want to tape down all four edges of your paper to a smooth, rigid surface. That way it's less inclined to wrinkle. And then when you're finished, if you want to frame it, you're going to need to dry mount it with spray adhesive to foam core. And that's all that takes. And maybe we'll do a quest on that, on how you can get the kind of curly paper to smush down. That's a thing. So we're going to definitely still do wishes today, even though today is a watercolor day, because we have some really good wishes. Oh, yeah. We do have some wishes. Definitely don't want to miss those. If you can at home, on the back of your paper, on the back of whatever you're painting on today, if you see a wish that speaks to you and you want to add to that positive energy, feel like you can do that. Wishes can be serious and wishes can be lighthearted. All wishes are valid. What wishes do we have today, Mr. Cooney?
Well, we're going to start out. We have a wish for Jennifer for relief from depression.
You know, this is a consistent wish that we're getting from the community about this. And I really would love to see a growing understanding about depression and mental well-being, a growing awareness, and just sort of globally us coming to understand that this is a chemical state and just deserves empathy and kindness and sympathy.
It does.
From the world, and also possibly better, more effective treatments.
And laughing.
Oh, and let's laugh more.
Dancing too.
Dancing.
Okay. So we'll come back for more dancing later. We'll do our wishes real quick.
Okay.
So we have more wishes, though. All right, let's go back over to wishes.
Wishes.
Oh, I pushed the wrong
Wishes
button.
were fishes.
Okay, so we have a wish for Renee for energy and strength and energy for her PhD.
Oh, yeah. Good. You can do it, Renee.
And a wish for Susan and her husband to be surrounded by strength and love.
Sometimes that's all we need is just a little strength and love.
We have some kitty wishes, I think.
Yes.
For Griffin Puff's.
Griffin Puff's cat needs to come home.
Griffin Puff's cat needs to come home, and for all cats out there
to stay home and safe, because I gather that the cat runs away a lot.
Yeah. Well.
Because cats are like that.
And it's Denise's birthday today.
Whose birthday?
Denise.
Happy birthday, Denise.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we have a wish for Carrie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, and I think she just really let's send Carrie light and love today, and let's just again, just mental well-being.
Yeah, for Jennifer.
For the world. She was wishing that for the world, not herself. She's okay, but send her light and love.
Yeah. Sorry.
She just needs a little light and love. All right, and what's the last one?
Let's see. The last one is let's see, a better. We would like to have a wish for better understanding and healing in the world.
Oh yeah. And healing. World could use that.
And Mark I appreciate it. He put out there on the channel that there, we do have a lot of light keepers out there, and if we miss any of those wishes, please, everyone else will be catching those and putting them on their canvases. We appreciate when you guys do that for us. It helps our community. It helps everyone. So
get my sippy here.
Dan's Sherpa. See, cure for depression, making a Sherpa dance.
Probably not, but it certainly is helpful. Do all the things that are helpful.
We have
listen, I've been through it.
Yep.
And I get it. And just know that there's help out there. There's relief. It's not perpetual. People can help. If you think, you see someone that needs help, reach out. Because there is helping, and then there will be dancing.
And then there will be dancing.
And then there will be dancing, because help is happening. So totally get it. Watercolors. So I got these. I'm going to hold them up. Crayola washable watercolors at the Michaels. And I used a coupon. I think they were $6. And I used a coupon. I've seen them on Amazon for as little as $3 on Amazon Prime. So it seems to be about $3 to $6.
Yeah.
Artist Loft is the economy watercolors run about this range. What's good about Crayola watercolors? Well, if my mom is an accurate bit of information, and I have not fact-checked this, right now, Crayola owns Liquitex. Or Liquitex owns Crayola. These companies are connected in some way. They're known for their wonderful pigments, their commitment to color, their commitment to bring vibrant, saturated color into a little brush's life. They also have their new aged up products. They have a lot of stuff. I really like that. That's the positives. You get these beautiful, rich colors at an economic price. And the only thing is they're non-archival. Which means if you create the greatest piece of your life, you may spend as much money making sure it doesn't fade out as if you just bought a pro paint. And that's really the only difference.
Interesting.
Is its longevity. Right? And there are times when longevity, I'm going to pull these out of the tray because this tray doesn't want to open all the way. And we're going to talk about what acrylic, look at these. Okay, so they pop out of their little things pretty easily. As we're finding this out, we're going to talk about what their acrylic equivalents might be if you were making your own tree in acrylic.
Yeah. All
right, so there's this. All right, so we've got these lovely 3 trays. We've got 24 colors and this fluffy brush. I'm going to demo the brush. This seems to be a natural brush that they give you. All right, so colors that I recognize. Well, that's pretty close to Dioxazine Purple, and this looks like it might be a Phthalo Blue here, and I got a Prussian Blue and a Celadon Blue. And that looks to be somewhere between Burnt Umber and Burnt Sienna. Naples Yellow, Cad Yellow, maybe Cad Orange. One of these, I think this is, between there is like a Cad Red, and then we've got a Crimson here. We've got some type of pink magenta. We've got some different greens. There's a Phthalo Green. So there's colors that you're familiar with, right? And you've got your white. White in watercolor can make some pastels, but then you generally just use the paper to create your pastels. So I find it funny to have white in watercolor, but it's all okay. What you have to do with all watercolor, I like to have my mister bottle for this, is you have to prime it, which means that you have to let some water soak into the surface, right? This is messy. A lot of people just dip little drops of neat water in there. I'm in a rush, though, as always. And so spray, spray, spray. John will verify this is my technique at home. My kids have very successful watercolors because I go by and I spritz it.
Yeah.
That's a lot what it is. I'm going to put my board down on... I'm going to put one behind me because I want us to see what we're... One behind me as we're working so you guys can be inspired. Is this as messy as the acrylic? Yes, it is. Whether you're doing acrylic or watercolors, on this, when you do the splatter from your lightest color to your darkest color.
Sorry?
But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay in our ground. And I can't see the up-close camera. Now I can?
It's all kind of focused.
It's having a little moment because I'm not giving... It needs something to focus on, so we got to give it something to focus on. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wash brush, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to wet, not soak, wet the lower part of my watercolor because I want a soft bleed. Okay? So whether I'm doing this with watered down acrylics,
go ahead, if you could grab your one of the watercolor palettes there or something and put it up there or just anything above you so that it has a little easier time focusing. Oh, there, it's so much easier.
Okay. So this is the challenge filming with white papers. Now I'm not going to wet my whole board, and you're at home with thinner paper. You're going to need to be cautious and definitely be taped.
So I have a little bit of that history between Liquitex and Crayola.
Do you?
Yeah. So apparently, according to the Crayola website, in 1964, Binley and Smith acquired Pigments, Permanent and Pigments Inc. The company manufactures Liquitex acrylic colors, oil colors, watercolors, varnishes, mediums, and other fine acrylic
Really?
products. So I guess it was in 1964 that they became affiliated.
So this is not new news.
No. So I guess that's where they have a good history and tradition of color. It's probably because they have some of that similar heritage there.
It would sound like that to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like that to me. Now I'm going to do this little sort of hill. I'm going to build my ground. Right? I've got a nice little place where I feel like it's going to bleed fairly well. Right? It's not really going to go past where I put my water. And that's some of how I control what's happening. I'm going to take some of what I feel is my burnt umber and a little of my phthalo blue. And what do you know? It kind of is exactly like that. And I'm just getting a nice mix or wash going, like you can. And I'm going to come here. Oh, look at that beautiful bleed.
Oh, you're going to have to push it forward because I can't quite see it.
Or do I move this a little bit?
Or you can zoom back a little bit, maybe. I'm not sure. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. Even though it's like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
It does. It has such a hard time.
So in watercolor, I like to think of it as like developing, right? We don't, in acrylic, oftentimes we reveal by creating highlights and bringing light in out of this darkness that we have going in our watercolor pieces. I mean, in our acrylic pieces. But in watercolor, it's a lot like developing a photograph. In that we add ever darker runs of color. So I've created these two little kind of hills.
What brush are you happening to use there?
I'm just grabbed this number 12 Simply Simmons wash. You could use any package of craft brushes that weren't shedding on you.
But just for everyone at home, you're using
the Simply Simmons number 12 bright.
Which, if I recall, are not particularly watercolor brushes.
No, but I don't want to be dispensing. I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of new materials. You know,
I do.
Just really what it is.
Well, I was just curious because I imagine
I put in this hill.
I imagine everyone at home is in the same boat, so
yeah,
that's why I asked.
In this particular case, your acrylic brushes will suffice for your watercolor.
Yeah.
So I've got my black here, and I'm gonna come and I'm gonna define my hill a little bit more.
Now, can you use watercolor on top of acrylic or acrylic on top of watercolor?
You can use acrylic on top of watercolor, but you cannot use acrylic watercolor on top of acrylic.
It just won't stick.
It won't bind.
Gotcha.
Not even in multimedia purposes. Except that, as John well knows, I found the way to break that rule.
Well, if you're using them as washes, like could you use an acrylic wash? Like if you're using acrylic as watercolor, could you mix those two together?
Mix watercolor and acrylics?
Yeah.
So think about it. The watercolor, its binder is gum arabic in general, unless you're painting Golden's core. And in acrylic, it's still polymer, and these things are not sympathetic to each other, if that makes sense. I'm just getting this black here, and I'm working this. So what we've got, what's interesting is I'm watching this black tone come out. So this black is a warm black. I don't know if you guys can see the warmness of this black.
Okay.
It has a brown undertone to it, which is quite nice.
I'm going to try to balance my mic up a little bit more.
Okay. Am I unbalanced?
No. I just...
Other than mentally.
I think I have a tendency to talk softly.
So what I'm trying to do here is allow the paint to bleed. Right? I'm just trying to create a scenario where it's okay for the paint to bleed out, pull into the fibers of the paper, and I'm letting that create some of the drama in this painting. Interestingly, I come from an interesting watercolor history in my family.
Yeah.
My grandma Punky trained in the art of Chinese watercolor. Actually hit the consulate with a friend of hers and was quite good, and she was one of these people that could do like a whole panda in one brushstroke.
Really?
Yeah. Every once in a while when I start to think I'm like, I'm getting pretty good at my watercolors, I'll try to do like a cat in one brushstroke or panda or something, and I'm like, oh yeah, more work to do. Have I? And that's the really incredible watercolor master can wet the paper and in one brushstroke give you an entire narrative. It's extraordinary.
Now, Lisa was asking a question, and I'm going to ask it just as she did.
Okay.
She says, so we're supposed to let it pool like we're always told not to?
Yes. The water or the paint, is she asking?
Again, she didn't specify.
So I'll answer both ways, right?
Okay.
So what this is watercolor uses a series of resists, right? Which the paper is a resist. You can use Frisket as a resist and pulls like water, right? So if I'm doing acrylic on paper, I don't have to worry about underbinding because the paper binds the acrylic.
Right.
Right? That's why I get to break my rule on raw linen and on paper. Can't go do this on canvas.
Okay.
Except to have a way to break that rule, which I will do in a quest.
Okay.
Which is how I do my artwork. Right? And that's just the thing, is like, what you're talking about is like, will this work? And what works is that which is this, which we're doing here today, is definitely fine. Right? You're not going to have a problem with this because this substrate, this arch, is watercolor paper. Your watercolor paper is designed to pull pigment in. And I don't know if you've noticed, like when it pulls the pigment in, the pigment will sometimes light, and you'll get all kinds of results and effects based on that.
So what do you use to get rid of the excess water?
I don't put out that much. That's why I was like, don't like slop it out. You want to put out enough to pull it. I don't pull out so much that I have puddles.
But now I've noticed...
Don't make puddles. Puddles don't help you. It's a controlled amount of water. You want to see a sheen on the paper, right? You don't want to think anyone can go surfing. That would be the balance.
Okay, so Simi Senpai asks, do you use tissue to get rid of excess water?
You can.
You can. Okay.
Yeah. You can use a sponge. Natural sponges are really fantastic. You can even use a dry brush, especially if it's a natural fiber. If you wring the moisture out of a brush and put it to the pool of the water, it will pull it into it. So tissue paper, sponge, dry brush.
Okay.
Don't sop it out in pools. Don't want to go surfing. You won't be able to sail anybody across your paper. You want a sheen. You want something to be pre-black ice.
Now, if you mix, if you are using watercolor and acrylic in this watercolor form, right? Do you need to varnish it when you're done?
Don't mix watercolor and acrylic. Yeah. Okay, so what you're asking is, so I did some watercolor, and then I wanted to do some gouache techniques on top with my acrylic. Right, because I wouldn't use my watercolor and acrylic and washes because, again, there's the polymer. I then want it to be able to bind. So say I'm doing a wonderful kind of gouache top side kind of thing that I could do, right? It's still on paper, so I frame it like it's on paper.
Okay.
The rules of framing on paper stay the same. And I would definitely want air between my glass and my piece. I wouldn't want it to stick because it would stick because I'd used acrylic.
Yep.
You know, I would only want to varnish if I was trying to create a slick varnish surface, which is generally the opposite of what we're trying to do on paper.
Okay.
I'm going to get my inner Mr. Miyagi in, my Mr. Karate Kid in, and I'm going to very carefully paint a tree.
Now, I noticed you grabbed a different brush.
I grabbed a round.
A round brush.
A round. I'm going to paint a little tree shape that I think I would like. I'm imagining my tree. It's darn hard to see on the paper, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna cheat a little bit so you guys can see it. I'm going to draw my shape in. You don't draw your shape in. You can see yours. I'm going to use blue so you can see it. This is watercolor pencil. I'm going to draw like this little tree shape that I think that I'd like to see here. This sort of interesting, uneven little tree shape. And I'm going to moisten inside that.
Cool.
I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. I was going to do it with my little round brush, but nobody can see that because, whoa. That's okay. Check your pigments. Listen, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wash it out. Yeah, I'm just going to add water to it. It's going to be fine. And this actually helps because you guys can see what I'm doing with the little graying. So see, I'm not pulling. I don't want surfers. I don't want surfers in my tree. I just want it moist. And I want this sort of free-form tree shape. You could, if drawing was not your favorite thing, because drawing is, like we say all the time, not the only art skill, right? You could use a stencil, a tree stencil right here for great results. And even though this is board, where I've moistened it, it's curling because I don't have it taped down.
Now, can you tilt that camera down, your third camera there, just a touch so we can see more of the top of the... Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to see this. I'm going to get in my brightest green here. I think this is a really fun green. No, actually, I might start with the yellow. Even lighter, lighter, lighter. I'm going to get this light, light yellow. Look at me. I'm loading up this little brush with my light, light yellow. Lots of water, very thin.
Sopping it all in there.
And I'm splattering. Now, what will happen is inside the tree, where I have my water, it will bleed a little. And we want some of that at the beginning.
So, Carrie Quirk asked a question.
Carrie Quirk, how are you doing today?
So, why pre-wet paper rather than wet the paint? She's totally new to watercolor. So.
Yeah, so what it is whether you're doing washes with your acrylic or you're doing watercolors. And actually, can I get a paper towel, babe?
Sure, hold on.
Because I've got this curve on my paper, which I normally wouldn't have. And see how I've got surfers here? I'm going to use my brush to pull some of this water out, but just pulling it up. All right, see, I've got the brush. The brush has soaked up my surfing water. Stun hands, but I'm going to do this in this particular case because we're cooking along. The water in the paper creates a pull. It allows a blending effect. It's why sometimes watercolors paint effects like water more realistically than anything else.
Gotcha.
Because I can get these soft spaces.
No,
lightest to darkest. And whatever you're splattering, I would say that's the number one thing I'm seeing people kind of struggling with on the splattering art is go with your lightest color first and then ever slowly add your darker colors. Because the pigment will not be able, the light pigments will not be able to cover up the darker. So I've got this nice yellow. This could be your CAD yellow in your acrylic paint. But look, I'm not having a pigment problem really here with my Crayola.
Yeah.
It's got a nice color. I'm going to get a nice result with this. Now I'm going to get that bright crazy green. And I'm going to add some of that.
Cool.
Just tap, tappy, 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 tap. It's super fun, super messy. Yes, a kid can do this.
And I have to regularly clean my lenses because of this technique.
He does. And you definitely want your kid in a big t-shirt or yourself in a big t-shirt or your friends in a big t-shirt and, you know, some space where you've got some messability.
Yeah.
This is not tidy art.
So
we love the over splatters, by the way. We want them.
We say hi to Lindsay real quick.
Hi, Lindsay.
And Stacy has a question.
Okay.
She says, it just scrolled right off. Man, faster. Going fast today. Do you splatter light colors first on acrylic too?
Yes, because we're doing washes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, here's the truth. On acrylic, if I, say, lose my light in my watercolor style painting, right? Because it's really just a watercolor style painting, right? I can flub it or correct for it. I can come back with a slightly thicker, more pigmented paint that's lighter and put my lights back. Because it will cover. It's more opaque and it will actually cover.
Oh, yeah.
So if I made a mistake, it's easier to fix on the acrylics.
Well,
so you have a little more forgiveness. Gouache, I think, will do that as well.
So Lisa just told me that we have a special little brush with us today.
I love special little brushes.
Her and her mom are watching us from Cook's General Hospital today. Cook's Children's General Hospital today.
Hi.
So,
how are you doing today? Who's the little brush?
you know, I don't know.
Well, don't tell the nurses I encouraged you to be this messy. But go ahead and have some fun. You go ahead and have some fun in there.
Yeah. Maybe I do have some paint on the lens. Oh, I do. It looks like you splattered the lens.
I did? Where?
The close-up camera one. I can see it. I didn't realize you actually got one, so let me go over there and clean that.
Oh, well, I mean. Now, I'm working my edges here very hard, if you guys can notice. Right? Yeah, I'm just using Crayola watercolors here. You could be at home using golden fluids or inks or all kinds of beautiful media. But my point is, stud hands. I guess my point is, and this actually came out of, it's interesting, there's a dot. I don't know that it bugs them. I don't even know that they would see the dot among the dots. Really?
It's floating in there.
Oh, I see it. Did it go inside?
No, you just got the lens that dried right on there. So I'll scratch it off.
Oh, there we go. I'm going to probably get it again. So I'm working closely right around here.
Sorry for that, guys.
And I'm creating this sort of little edge. Can you guys see the edge that I'm working?
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying messing up John's camera. And I'm enjoying this. And I'm enjoying my whackety whack. I wouldn't be getting curling if I was working on a nice supported flat surface with this.
But she's floating over our
Yeah.
studio floor.
I'm floating on this really weird little support. So you won't have this problem. I will. All right. So we've got that nice little sort of splattery joy happening.
The little brush's name is Bella.
Hi, oh, my daughter's name is Luna Bella. Hi, Bella. How are you today? Now I'm getting this really fun sort of apple green. We're going to see how that looks, if that shows up as slightly different. And it does. That's so fun. Experiment and play. The other thing that I'm going to do on this tree that's going to be very forgiving of what I've got going on is I'm going to use color harmonies. Which means I'm going to use things that are all on the same side of the color wheel. So I'm going to go yellow and the greens and then the blues.
Okay.
And that's going to create a very harmonious painting. You know, another thing I'd like to say, and I've been posting them, there's some really fantastic artists, I've been talking to John about this, that work in crayons.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not playing really good stuff.
Oh, there you go.
You know, yes, do this in acrylic if you've got acrylic. But if you've got Crayolas and you're like a teacher, right, you can still bring this to your kids. We've got a thing here, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo.
Yeah.
And they have a big art show. But the materials they have rules about the materials that can be used.
Well, I just wanted to pass along to Bella and her mom that we have about 210, 215 people out here in the room, and they are all sending loves, hugs, and wishes your way. So, you know, you guys, we hope you're having a pleasant afternoon.
So I've got this nice sort of little craziness going on in my weird little tree, which has gone real yellow. Right? Now I'm going to do one more dark color, and then I'm going to dry it because I want the rest of my splatters to have firm shape.
Okay.
See, these all have soft edge shapes.
You keep spooking me out. I keep thinking you're going to go get paint.
Sorry. These all have soft edge shapes. But in a minute, I'm going to want them to have firm edge shapes. See how the papers resist to this paint? This will be true in acrylic or the watercolor. This is what it's going to do. And I'm going to want to play with those two things. Hardest thing in watercolors, techniques, and washes when you're doing it is preserving your white. Now, this acrylics can kind of help you here because you can put your white back. Some white baby like, I go right over this. Multimedia is brilliant in the I'm going to just fix it.
So,
you know, and you can go over this. I mean, think creatively. You can go over this with crayons. You could go over this with chalk pastels. You could go over this with oil pastels. You could go over this with pencil.
yeah, like colored pencils and things. Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably like a gazillion tutorials just on that around YouTube. Half of them on Lindsay's channel. Sorry. She's just a really busy girl. I'm going to get some of my darker green. I think I'm going to pull from, it's a little pastel-y, but I'll do a little of this. Pulling that out there. Isn't that nice?
That looks really good.
It's super fun. It's super, super fun.
I like how you can kind of see them just going spreading out in the watery surface there.
So I went to Prairie View A&M,
Mm-hmm.
and I studied advertising arts.
Yep.
I always felt pretty good about that because I was always like me and Warhol. And I spent some time of my life with an art agent and a painting agent. There's my Lunabella.
She was just saying, I want to go paint.
Lunabella's actually set up to paint right now with the exact same kit I've got going here, all taped down in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cute. And you would do work, and they would want things that would be in different media, right? They would want different effects. And you use what you have to get the job done. You don't, like for that type of art, you don't worry about, is it going to make 500 years? You're going to worry about, what is my result? And there's a whole art movement that's saying, trying to be so archival for people 500 years from now sometimes limits us from the expressive reality of right now.
Yeah.
In other words, have fun now, today. Have fun today. If you've got your kids' paper and your kids' watercolors and you're like, I just really need to paint along right now, tape that down with the Scotch tape you have in the house and go to town.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional result is the same as if you're painting with like premium paints on super grounds. The fun is the fun. The art is the art. I did some beautiful, beautiful marker pieces in college with Prismacolors, which are very good markers. Are they still bright? No. And they were in a portfolio. Stuff isn't forever. And it doesn't need to be. Sometimes sitting down and I'm just doing damage to my brush. It's like shedding. This is not good for your brushes. I kid you not.
Beating them up.
Beating them up. Beat up your brushes. That's why sometimes I'm like, I don't want to get the most expensive brush in the thing because then later when it breaks, I'm all upset. I don't want to be upset. I just paint. I paint every day.
Yeah.
You probably just want to paint every day.
Everybody here is really into painting.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah,
and they seem to come hang out with us. It seems like every day. I love it. I can't believe they keep showing up.
Now, you'll notice that I tighten my grip here on my splatter.
Mm-hmm.
I put my finger here to give me some control.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how tightly I can control the splatter. I don't know if you guys can see. One of the things I think has been frustrating for people is they didn't feel like they had control over the splatter. But you do.
Yeah.
But you do. All right, I'm going to dry that a little bit because I want my next splatters to have more structure. And John's going to play some music.
I am?
Or talk to them or whatever.
Okay.
When we said hi to Lindsay, right?
We did say hi to Lindsay.
I don't know what's going on today.
She's still in here hanging out. She's on her lunch break, so.
You get a break?
Well, I think she schedules her life
She
so much better
does.
than we
You
do.
want to come schedule my life?
You should
Just like,
dry off your
I'm
stuff.
just like literally like, it's 11. I need to go to bed now.
Okay.
All right.
Luna. I got her. Luna Bella snuck over there. So I had to go get the Luna Bella. Right. Let me go sit her in the other room and I will be right back with you guys. Because she's just being as cute as she can be right now.
I'm going to speak like a star sapphire on tea tights. Does not need to be the perfect.
Now, so while I just had to run Luna Bella off there a little bit.
Well, she's okay.
So now, what are you moving on to there now?
I'm going to get a darker color. I've dried my paper so that I can control the edge. The other thing I really love in a great watercolor is when there's a balance of soft, open, fluid edges and hard, sharp edges.
Yeah.
Also, like the great ones make that look like it's effortless, but really that's a lot of like I don't know if anybody knows about the Watercolor Society. Excellent resource for people. Watercolor Society has maybe the best workshops available to its members on planet Earth, I think. Incredible. And you can watch the greats create art as a member, and even if you're doing acrylic, sometimes sneaking in and enjoying yourself, and because the membership's really economical, you can get some incredible art education just as a member.
Oh, yeah.
It's extraordinary. The techniques, the innovation, the bright stars that they bring in to just lecture to their members and do demos is fantastic.
Now, you're going to be going on to a darker color
I am.
In the tree, or you're going to be on to the
darker color in the tree.
In the tree itself.
I'm going to do this kind of Kelly here, this sort of green of Ireland right here.
So our community had a request.
Okay.
They wanted to see if we could name this Bella's Wishing Tree. And we have a lot of people out here.
Named. Done. Bella's Wishing Tree. Changing the title.
So we have a lot of people
Yes.
out here who are apparently who know Bella. There's a couple audience members who are who know her from the local community and paint with us. So
I would love that. We will name this Bella's Wishing Tree. I think that's brilliant. Happy to do it. Bella, this is your tree. We dedicate this episode to you.
yeah.
May you never color in the lines. Look at this. See the layering?
There it goes.
This is really fun. Now, if I had, brush for watercolor, I can promise you right now, my paint would load thicker into the brush and I wouldn't have to reload as often. All right. I don't mind at all. These colors mix nicely. So you can mix if you like. You could do that color chart like we did on Big Art Quest on your Crayola and know exactly what you could get out of it. And you could probably, if you made sure you did your prep correctly so your paper wasn't wrinkled, it was all mounted nice, you could probably go win an art show with it.
Yeah.
And that's my point, is that sometimes in art, there's this idea that there's the inside and outside, right? And that a material or an art education, is everything okay?
Yeah, you got the lens again. It's okay.
It's okay. That an art education puts you inside or outside of the community. Does it mess with the focus or something?
It does. I'll go get it.
Okay. Usually, it's outside again. I can't see it. I gotta go to the eye doctor. I really need to go. I think I need glasses, y'all. I do. Or maybe contacts.
They just dry on there so quick. Come on.
Well, I mean, if I'm gonna do it again, you want to catch it right when I do it, right?
I gotta get them out there so they can see it.
All right. You know, I have those really nice towelettes for cleaning paint material. All right, so I've got this sort of green cloud. You like my green cloud, guys? Right now, my tree is a green cloud. Green clouded up. Just going along. Going to this dark, dark, dark green. Dark, 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 dark green. Look at that. Did I do it again?
No, I'm sure, but no, I was just reading the comments. I got
That's disturbing.
Oh no, it wasn't a
Oh.
I was just a I wonder what the answer to this question is. It's a how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop question.
Oh, how many wax?
So Lipstick wants to know how many paintings until you get good at painting.
All right. Actually, observationally, everybody has a number. I've seen people crack at 10. I've seen people crack at 20. Most everybody cracks by 50. It's just where they start to find themselves. To become proficient at painting, it's not that, you've got to do 10,000 hours to master anything. You have to do it consistently as a practice, and along the way, it will happen. It's kind of like puberty. We know what sort of happens between this bracket, and everything between this bracket is normal. I think the big trick is to know that somewhere along the way, your artistic presence will happen for you. And just be like, all I have to do is be persistent and determined, and I will find an artistic voice that works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I say this like from that fine art perspective, John, where like in the local group I'm in, the VAA, I see people all the time, and they're remember that lady with the paper?
Yeah.
Right? She had just started up. You just don't know when it's going to find you. But creativity is your organic destiny, I guess, is what I think it is. Kind of want the air out here. I'm having fun. Here's what's happening. I'm just glad to not be here for four almost 5 hours. I just feel like anything short of that is just a hoot. And I'm enjoying painting this tree because I'm going to keep it. So that's what's happening to me here. If you're wondering, like, man, she's whacking this a long time. Also, sometimes if you see how long it takes me to resolve a painting, it gives you a sense of how long you should be whacking at it.
Yeah.
Because the number one thing that happens to artists is they don't stay in long enough. It feels.
Needs more layers.
Needs more layers. And this can get, like, you're like, man, how long do I need to go? A while. A little bit. You're going to be whacking a little bit. Your brush is going to be abused. Give it kisses afterwards because it's been through something.
Now, how do you keep your colors so sharp and vibrant and not muddied?
Well, in this particular case, I didn't mix them. I let Crayola determine my pigmentation. Where I'm likely to get muddy is when I start to mix because there's, oh, look at the living hands are like, the color pox. Is where I'm likely to have some stuff, and that's when you've got to have really good color theory and probably have done a color chart if I want to keep it vibrant. I haven't done a color chart here, right? So this black is doing some interesting things and, you know, some fun, unusual things are happening. And so when I'm not 100% sure of my result, I stick with the pigment they gave me. It's a good cheat.
So there's a couple questions, and I think, so one, can you use a dowel rod instead of another brush?
Yes.
Probably better, maybe?
Oh, totally. Have fun with that.
Yeah, it's like Lindsay.
I just grabbed blue.
Lindsay suggested cleaning the lens with alcohol and Q-tips.
Yeah.
Both of which would be great if I had in my hand.
Actually, I think there's an alcohol, because I have alcohol for resist over on the table.
Look around. It's like
Lindsay knows what I'm talking about. I have alcohol for resist.
it's like MacGyver up in here.
Right? And I do have Q-tips somewhere. And yes, you have other tools. You do. You could use a spoon. You could use that wooden spoon in your kitchen.
Yep.
You can just do stuff. This is not for canvas work, though.
Not for canvases.
But
No.
I'm going to show y'all how to break that rule.
Yeah, I can still see the lens is all.
Okay,
messed.
okay.
I'm gonna go get some cleaner.
He's just having a moment with
It is.
that.
You
that.
just-
It
you-
just really distresses
You
him
just did it in.
to know, and you guys catching how much this distresses him. And I'm just enjoying layering in the blue. I'm going to get this before he gets here and starts cleaning my lens again. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting some of this indigo here because I like it. And I want some deep, oh, look at that deep color right there. So I'm shading my tree a little bit before John comes and gives me some grief. Before John, that's so funny. I'm like a kid, like, you know how your kid will like try to color like the last little bit that they can before they're forced to stop. Okay. And John's cleaning the lens. If you're just coming in right now and you're like, what's happening? This is the weirdest live I've ever seen. He's cleaning the lens. All right, so this green cloud that's floating, which honestly, if you just built a bunch of these, it would be really fun clouds. I'm going to dry real quick so I can put in my stem and my sharp work. Woohoo!
Okay, so I'm sort of back. Sorry about that. Turn that down. So, thank you guys all. Sorry it's been kind of a little bit crazy here, juggling all of the stuff. Watercolor days are always interesting because the setups are a little different, and whenever she does the wacky things with the brushes, it gets the lenses dirty, and I wasn't expecting so much splatter today. So, first, thank you guys for all hanging out with us today. We've got like 235 people here with us, and I'd like to say, a very special hi to Bella and her mom. Of course, we really appreciate you. We've had a huge response from our audience out here for you guys. They've just overwhelming, lots of hugs and love and wishes going into the canvases for you. So know that you're loved and cared for by our community. And if everyone can take time to subscribe and join the Art Quest, and also share. If you can share these videos, it really helps get the word out on what we're doing, and lets everyone know that we're here having fun on a regular basis with our community and doing all this kind of stuff. So if you're watching at home afterwards and you're not with us on a live show, I greatly encourage you to come join in. I love to see you guys here chatting, and I always try to engage with everyone who I can during the show. Lots of jokes and fun stuff going on. So thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with us. And see, now that's it. I've run out of things to say. So short of bad knock jokes and knowing not what to do. You know what? Maybe I'll get like a blendy cam, because I won't put a camera on me. We can put a blendy cam so that when I'm stuck like this, we can go, and now for blendy. And we could go over to him, and you could see him being all chill in his enclosure while I'm panicking behind the microphone, right? So, yep. Hopefully she's back just in time, just as I was actually panicking, going, oh wait, I actually have run out of things to say.
actually, and I'm gonna let it settle a little bit more. So a couple things I want to tell you about this. If you are wherever you are and you're having to create artwork in materials you don't think are going to have longevity, in other words, they're not going to last a long time, what you should do is, if you're creating very, very, very good artwork in this way, get a good photograph.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And don't ever feel bad about that. There's a whole movement of art about artwork being non-permanent. I have a list of some of my favorite artists on the planet, and one of them is a man named Andy Goldsworthy, and he lives in Scotland, and he makes art out of trees and twigs and grass and ice and air and time.
Mm-hmm.
If you look him up, there's a fabulous documentary done about him, Rivers and Tides. It's so pretty, it'll make you cry.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Yeah. It'll make you cry, cry, cry. And you'll realize not all art needs to be forever. Some art just needs to be experienced.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of reasons to art. Not just one reason. Sometimes people will roll up on you all like, oh, it's just meant to be this. But art isn't any one thing or another thing or another thing. It's what you experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're the farmer out walking in the field and you run into one of Andy's pieces, your experience with that is as valid as the museum that funded it.
Like, quick, Marge, get the Betamax. We got to get this on tape.
Seriously, you're as moved or as touched. I'm going to move this closer. I'm going to pull my black closer to me. Now I'm going to do my paint work here. So I've got a fairly loaded brush. I'm working a detail. And I'm going to put in my trunk.
Ooh.
So I'm going to plant a little seed. I always like to do this where I go, I plant a little seed that I imagine was planted years and years and years ago. And I'm going to grow a little trunk up to the tree.
Cool.
That's what I'm doing. And I'm not going to put my brush in my coffee, which I almost happened. And I'm going to remember all my tree rules, like trees are thicker at the bottom and thinner as they grow up. Right?
Where'd you go? There you go.
Right? That's what they are. I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm going to lighten my pressure as I want to thin my line. I'm going to widen my trunk down here because I want my tree to be grown and healthy. My beautiful little tree that's growing on this weird little mountain, which I really dig. This so reminds me of, like, my grandmother's paintings. I guess that's why I thought of her,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when I was doing these, is it just kind of pulled me back. She's my grandmother by adoption.
Right.
Yeah. But she's the grandma I knew.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma I knew, Grandma Punky, was very painting supportive. Definitely not purple hair supportive, but painting supportive. I was not keen on the purple hair.
So
I did this before in my life.
Simi was asking, how do you do those lines so straight and archy and, you know, they're smooth? How do you keep them so smooth?
All right. So I definitely make sure the load of my brush is good, that the fluidity of my paint is good, and that my pressure is good. Where my hand is unsteady, I will rest it or use a bridge to hold it. And I've practiced.
Okay.
And if you're feeling like your lines are not how you want them to be, it's just a matter of practicing. We're going to talk about that on the stroke quest. But it's really about, can you practice, you know, your wonderful, happy little lines. I'm going to have a branch go here because I just feel like it should.
And you're just getting the black there.
I'm just using black.
Can you push that forward just a touch? Just
Put what? Push
the,
what forward?
Oh,
the black paint?
Because you keep dipping into it, and it's just on the edge of the camera, so I can't always see what you're getting.
Is that better?
Yeah, perfect. Now, I saw that we had some vacationers that were joining us today.
Vacationers?
Where did she go? I saw her name, and I want to... She's on vacation. She's watching from her phone because the kids are in the arcade playing.
Ooh.
It was one of the community members I've seen before. It may have been Carrie.
Oh, it could be, yeah. I think Carrie's on vacation. So I'm pulling out thin little delicate branches, and I'm painting the tip of my brush. So that would mean my pressure is very light. One of the nice things about watercolor brushes is that they're very responsive to brush pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very, 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 very. So it doesn't take as much work to get a result because the paint is organically more fluid.
Where'd it go?
Right? And I can get really light, delicate branches in there. I'm having so much fun. Sorry, guys. I'm just having fun today.
As long as you're having fun, we're having fun.
I'm having kind of a blast today because I get to do this. You know, in fine art or advertising art, anything you do, you have to really, really narrow your focus. You don't get to do a variety of things. It's the nature of commercial art, is that you have to be really drilled down.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't do one thing one day and another thing another day. You're kind of doing a lot of the same thing for at least 2 seasons.
Mm.
And so the great joy that YouTube has been for me is that if something catches my fancy and I'd like to share it with you, I get to. And I love that. I don't have to have some weird conversation with my agent about how we cannot sell splatter trees. Our market is not splatter trees. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly not in that green, what was I thinking?
That's really turning out cool.
Yeah, it's just a happy tree. And then here's the fun part. We're going to come along here, and we're going to create some definition in our hill.
Can you adjust the camera there?
I'm going to adjust the camera so you can really see what I'm going to do. Look at this lovely little landscape that you painted.
Perfect right there.
Lovely, lovely little landscape. Now I'm going to do this sort of calligraphy thing, which is that I'm painting the tip of the brush, and I'm going to define my hill using, see how when the paper's dry, the paint stays very tight and clean. See that? I might come here and just telling the top of this story here. Fun for me, fun for me. And maybe I'll grow some grass blades over here or flowers. Who knows what these are? Fun stuff. I might find a little space on the inside of this that I also define. And that's a fun thing you can decide as an artist. Am I going to leave this all loose and fluid, or am I going to contrast this with some tight considered lines? I like to contrast it. That's my little deal. Have some fun. This, to me, is the meditative work. This type of expressive, fluid, little bits flooding along, dancing along, and maybe they come back up here on this hill.
And for anyone out there in the community who's we'd love to see your pictures. Post them up on our Facebook page, on Twitter, on Instagram, Pinterest, all those places. We'd love to see all the work that you guys are doing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them on our Facebook page. We're happy to help if we can.
And there we go. So see, we have this nice little
Where are you going?
defined little hill.
I keep forgetting we got all the buttons are in different places, so I'm pushing them wrong.
And I'm going to rinse out my brush and pull some of just my yellow. And maybe I'm going to make some little dabs here. And some little dabs there. Come over here and make some little dabs here. I'm going to tell the story of some flowers, John.
Cool.
Maybe in our hill. Little flowers. Happy little flowers. And I'll grab maybe some of this little indigo and put that with them. Look at that.
Sweet.
Just a happy little story. And that's all it takes, I think. Hopefully I can put this up right so you guys can see it on the big screen. There you go. It might drippy on us. I'm going to grab the one thing I think is going to drippy away. Capillary action in effect. There we go. So, tree on a hill.
Nice.
With Crayola Watercolor. And I feel like there's a lot of positives for this media. And yes, we're going to continue on our acrylic journey. But if you're at home and you have Crayola, you're at home. You have Crayola. There's a way. And there's art in you. What are we doing? Oh, you want me to sign it? John wants me to sign it. John is feeling I should be signing more of my paintings. He has this feeling.
They don't sign themselves.
So I will sign this over here.
And I think that does well for, and on the back of that, we should go ahead and put, this is Bella's wishing tree.
Bella's wishing tree.
We'll
I love that this is Bella's wishing tree, and I wish all your wishes, Bella. And I wish all your wishes at home. I definitely want you to feel like no matter what you're painting with, there are tutorials out there for you. There's art support out there for you, and no one has, you just have an entitled right to your creativity. That is a divine right that you have. And if you've got crayons, crayon it up. If you've got Crayola watercolors, watercolor it up. There's always a way. There's always a process. There's always an art result. And all we're talking about when we're talking about media is how it mixes, which you can solve with a color chart, and how long it lasts, which probably mostly is not that important. Right? Does it need to be 500 years? Probably not. Most of the time. Because we have really good cameras now. So you can get a really good picture. I can get a picture now with my cell phone that I used to have to spend, and I'm not even going to tell you how much an amount of money to have photographed professionally for photograph ready work so that stuff could be published and reproduced. I can just do it on my phone. Snap. It just kills me. I just think about that money. The world is changing. Embrace it. You could do this digitally. Be digital. Be just fine. Ghost test. Splatter, 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 splatter. Just always create. All right, that's my weird soapbox for the day. Create with Crayola. Or anything you've got.
Yeah. And, it's, I wanted to, Bella is, she's at Cook's Children's Hospital, and she's fighting leukemia. And we wanted to send our light and love with her and her family. So, we appreciate that, and we care. So we love you guys.
You guys be good. I'll be sure and change this, and we'll dedicate this painting to you forever and ever, Bella.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.